Hello and welcome to our virtual enrollment help session. My name is Vivian. I'm one of the regional mentors here at the University of Ottawa, and today it's my privilege to deliver this presentation to you virtually. So before enrollment, one of the most important things that you need to do is reading your offer of admission very carefully. That contains a lot of important information, such as the minimum average you need to maintain, completing the required prerequisites, completing any makeup courses that you need, also housing information, as well as the bursaries and scholarships you may have qualified for or could have qualified for. So that's very important to read very carefully and take note of. If you've only read it once, that's okay, but make sure to read it multiple times just to ensure that you have all the information you need. Also, accepting your offer of admission in OUAC, that is extremely important because then you can be matriculated and you will be able to enroll coming in May 24th. So if you haven't accepted your offer already, I would suggest doing that as soon as possible. Also, make sure that you store your UOttawa student number, email address, and password in a very secure but accessible location, just so that there's no confusion when you start accessing all the different pages and UOttawa websites that you'll need to log in to do or to access. So lots of students sometimes miss those emails. Possibly, it went to your junk, whatever that may be. Make sure to find that and to get access to your UOttawa student number and the email address and password as soon as possible, so that you don't miss any communications from the University of Ottawa. If you have not received an email about your UOttawa login email or password, please make sure to contact IT with your student number so that they can get that set up for you right away. So at the University of Ottawa, students are normally admitted into an honors bachelor degree, which is made up of 120 course units. So that's all 4 years of study. You would earn 120 course units, which is equal to 40 classes. So essentially, every class you complete, you earn 3 course units, which is equal to just 1 class. So wherever you'll see 3 course units listed, that just means 1 class. So 30 units is equal to 10 courses, which you would normally complete at the full-time level in 1 year, as well as 15 units would be 5 courses, which would be equal to what you would complete in 1 term at the full-time level. In making your course timetable, it is very important to know your options. At the University of Ottawa, there are 2 that you can pick from. Option 1 would be 1 class that occurs 2 times per week, each of them lasting 1.5 hours each. So, for example, if I was taking English 1100, I would take that class, and I would have 2 classes per week of English 1100, each lasting 1.5 hours each. Option 2 would be 1 class that occurs once per week that lasts 3 hours. So if I were taking English 1100 with option 2, I would have English 1100 only on Wednesdays for 3 hours. So yes, 15 courses or course units, which we've gone over, is 5 courses. So that's a minimum of 15 hours per week of in-class time. Another very important part of course enrollment is understanding course codes. So PHY 1300, that is an example of a class. And so the PHY, the 3 letters, stand for the discipline. So PHY is equal to physics. ENG would be equal to English. If you're ever confused about what 3 letters stand for or which discipline it represents, you can just Google those 3 letters, course catalog, UOttawa, and you should be able to see what discipline that represents. The first number indicates the year of study. So 1300 is a first year course, 2400 would be a second year course, etc. And so the second number indicates actually the language of instruction of the class. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, the class is taught in English. So physics 1300 is a English class, and 5, 6, 7, and 8, the course is taught in French. So if it was PHY 1500, then that would be a French course. 0 to 9 would represent a bilingual course or a class taught in another language as well. If you're interested in taking courses in both official languages, at the University of Ottawa, we offer equivalent courses in both French and English. So to figure out what a class would be in French, using the English course code, all you need to do is add 400 to that course code. So PHY 1300 plus 400 equals PHY 1700, which is the French equivalent of the Big Bang and beyond, au-delà du Big Bang. So there are a couple different types of courses here at the University of Ottawa that you will see throughout your years of study. So the first is compulsory courses, which are courses that you need to take to meet the requirements of your program. Those are normally listed explicitly on your course sequence with simply the course code and the discipline, so that you can see it and know that that is something you must take to fulfill your program requirements. Optional courses are courses that you can choose from a specific list of courses, but it's still required for your program. So normally on your course sequence, you'll see possibly 3 course units, which is equal to 1 class, as we've discussed. And then you go through that list, and you can choose one of those listed classes to take to fulfill that requirement. Elective course units, that would be an interest course or something that you have found that interests you, that you can take, that has available seats for you. So it's not specifically outlined in your course sequence, it will just say elective, and it's up to you to decide what interests you and which class you'd like to take to fulfill that elective course unit. A prerequisite course is a course that you need to pass before taking another one. So those are important. That's why we suggest that you follow your course sequence very closely, because the course sequence takes into account all the prerequisites and different intricacies in your program and the next year of study as well. So making sure that you have all the prerequisites you need in order to continue and be on the right track to graduate. Co-requisite courses must be taken in conjunction with one another, so they need to be taken together. And those can be outlined if you're unsure if maybe you have a class that's a co-requisite. Make sure to check the course catalog, which outlines exactly which courses are co-requisites for one another, and also what prerequisites you may need for that course as well. So there are different course components that exist at the University of Ottawa, the first and most common one being LEC, which is the lecture section. So that's where your subject matter is communicated orally to the class, normally by a professor. The section of the lecture is represented by a letter. So, for example, ADM 1300, the lecture section is A00, as it's underlined on the slide. So there's also the DGD, which is a discussion group. Those are group discussions, normally smaller class sizes for practical work. And so basically, and also a lab as well, practical work, but just in a laboratory. And so basically, when you're choosing your courses, you would need to, if not all classes have discussion groups or lab sections, but if they do, then you will need to select the lecture section first, the one that says LEC first, and then you will be able to choose whichever discussion group or lab group that corresponds best to your schedule and that you'd like to take. So to know what is a lab section or a DGD, normally they're represented by a number. So a DGD for section A would be 1, or DGD for section A is another DGD section would be section 2, and so on and so forth. So in choosing your classes, you also need to take into account the different attendance requirements. So the first, version would be an in-person class. This class is on campus in a classroom, and you attend that in person. You must attend that in person. Also, midterms or tests will also be delivered in person, so keep that in mind as well. Online courses, you have 2 options. Synchronous courses is you have a meeting at a precise time through video conference, so Zoom, Adobe Connect, Teams. So this would be, you have a class at 1 o'clock, you attend on Zoom at 1 o'clock. And that lasts for however long that the class lasts. The second version would be asynchronous online courses. So that would be when your professor gives you access to like a pre-recorded class, so you don't have to attend at a set time. You just need to follow them on your own asynchronously with the material that your professor gives you. The last is a hybrid class. That is where some class components are online and others are in person. So it's a bit of both. Yes. So in the enrollment portal, here's how you can kind of determine what mode of instruction a class is being delivered in. So the top one is an example of a synchronous course because the room is virtual. However, it does state a date and time. So if it doesn't state a date and time, and it's virtual, it's probably asynchronous. But if it does say a date and a time, then it's synchronous. So you show up at that time on whatever online platform your professor decides to use, and you get your class material that way. This bottom class does state a room, which is a place on campus where you would need to attend that class. So that would be an in-person class. One of the most useful tools that you will have in planning your course enrollment is your course sequence. So that is the plan for the next 4 years. Every class you will ever have to take, every requirement you'll ever have to fulfill will be listed on that course sequence. To find that, you will need to just Google course sequence U Ottawa with also the name of your program before that. So, for example, my program is criminology, so I would Google honors criminology course sequence University of Ottawa. So as we discussed, there are a couple different versions of classes listed on that course sequence. And so here we can see one mandatory class, English 1124, that's just listed. So that is a mandatory course because that is the class you need to take to fulfill that requirement. On the right, you can see an example of an optional or a list of optional courses. So it will say 3 course units, which means 1 class. And then lists a bunch of classes. So you would need to take 1 out of that list in order to fulfill that optional requirement. And then elective course units is the last one. So it will say 3 elective course units, which would mean 1 class. And that you would get to decide what class you would like to take in order to fulfill that requirement. And any class is okay to fulfill that requirement. Again, another example of what a course sequence may look like. The only difference in this one would be the optional course units. So it says 3 course units in English at the 1000 or 2000 level. So that would mean that you would need to take 1 class in 1 English class, so the English discipline, at the 1000 or 2000 level. So first year or second year level. Here at the University of Ottawa, we have a lot of resources at your disposal in order to help you through your enrollment process. So we do have step-by-step guides and enrollment support videos that you can access on the enrollment support page. There's also the Enrollment Help Center, which is a phone line that is open from May 24th until June 24th. So if you have any questions or concerns or technical difficulties, you can call that number. And the person on the other end will be able to help you through that. There's also the mentors@uottawa.ca email, which is another way that you can submit any concerns or difficulties that you may have or questions you may have, and the mentors will respond as soon as possible with the best answer. So, as a first-year student starting at the University of Ottawa, your enrollment begins May 24th at 8 a.m. Now, we suggest that you plan your courses before that time so that when May 24th at 8 a.m. rolls around, all you need to do is wake up, go into the enrollment portal, and hit finish enrolling because all of your classes will be there for both the fall and winter term because you've planned ahead. So the way to plan ahead would be to first go into your UOZone portal. You can Google UOZone at UOttawa and then log in with your email and your password that you've already set up, hopefully. And then you would go to the Applications tab, and then you would find the Enroll portal. So Make sure you know which status you are, full-time or part-time student. A full-time student would be a minimum of 4 classes per term, but we always suggest 5 because it does cost the same to take 5 versus 4 classes. So if you take 4 classes every term, it may end up costing you more because you'll have to keep taking more classes, which costs more money. Part-time student status would be 3 courses per term max. So anything less than that is also part-time. So accept your offer of admission at least 3 business days before the start of enrollment. Please, please, please. That is the only way that the enrollment portal will allow you to both access it or enroll in any classes. You need to have accepted your offer of admission at the very least 3 business days before the start of enrollment. You can access your UOttawa email 48 hours after enrollment. So just remember that, again, if you haven't received any communication to do with your UOttawa email, please check your junk mail. And if you still haven't received anything, please contact the IT services at the University of Ottawa so that they can help you get set up using your student number. So after you log in to your UO Zone and you go to the Applications tab, you will be able to see the enrollment portal as you can see on the screen. So you would click on that, and then it would take you to this page. So you would need to select the term. The term for incoming first-year students would be either fall or winter term, depending on which one you're enrolling in first. So you would start with fall 2022 term and then move to winter 2023. So making sure that you are in the add tab, right? Just click the add part and then go to class search and search. And that is where you can search for your courses. So using your course sequence, which you've hopefully accessed already before starting to enroll, you can enter the course codes that you see listed on there, and you can enter them by entering CHM, the 3 letters, in this top right box here, and then the course code directly underneath it, and then hitting search. And again, making sure that you are searching in the correct term. So here it says spring-summer term, but you wouldn't use that. You would be using fall 2022 or winter 2023. Now, after hitting search, if everything's gone according to plan, then you should see a page like this, which is a bunch of courses listed here. So make sure that you are choosing the LEC or lecture section. See, there's a green select button on the right. And a very important note here, make sure you are looking at my available seats. Okay, if under my available seats it says 0, then you will not be able to enroll in that class because as the column demonstrates, there are no available seats for you in that class. So just an important note. Make sure to look at all of the options. Normally there are many sections of each class. So make sure you're looking at all of those before you make your choice. After you've chosen a class, so by clicking that green select button, it will take you to this page. It will ask you to choose a lab section, for example, if the class has one. If it doesn't, then it's okay. It will be added to your shopping cart already. But if there are lab DGDs or tutorials, then it will come up like this over here, and you will be able to choose which component you would like to take. So if a tutorial or a DGD is optional, which is possible, we still recommend you select it just because it could be very valuable to helping you succeed in that course. After hitting next, you will need to confirm the class section. So here you can see that you've chosen the correct class, that it's the time that you wanted, both the lecture and the lab section. And if perhaps, let's say there are no my available seats for you in any section of a class that you need, then we would suggest doing the waitlist if class is full. However, on the enrollment support page, there is a tutorial video on how to waitlist and swap a class. So if you ever run into that situation where there are no available seats for you, and you need to put yourself on the wait list, we would suggest that you follow the wait list if class is full the waitlist and swap option in order to make sure that you are setting yourself up for success. So just quickly, the waitlist and swap option is essentially where you will enroll in a second choice class, okay? So a class that you still need for your program, but it's not your first choice. It's not the class you would want, but that class is obviously full. So you'd enroll in the second choice class, and then you would basically set there's a swap function at the top where you see add. Two to the right, you'll see drop, and then you'll see swap. So in clicking swap, you'll be able to select that second choice class and then search for your first choice class, which you'll need to be on the waitlist for. Click the waitlist if class is full button, and then set to waitlist and swap. There's, again, a tutorial video on the enrollment support page that will walk you through that, but that's just important to note if you ever get into the situation where you need to waitlist yourself for a class. However, if it is an elective that you want and there are no available seats for you, we would always suggest that you choose another class. Don't go on the waitlist for electives that you want, just because electives you can take at any time, but the most important classes to be taking are mandatory ones that you can enroll in. So if you ever get in a situation where you need to waitlist yourself for a mandatory class, make sure to do the waitlist and swap function. After hitting next on the previous page, you will now see that it's been added to your shopping cart. See the green check mark in the middle of the screen? So, now that it's in your shopping cart, you are still not enrolled at this point. You would need to proceed to step 2 of 3, which you can do once enrollment opens May 24th at 8 a.m. So when I was referring to the shopping cart, I mean adding all of your classes to the shopping cart so that you can see it, and then you can simply hit proceed to step 2 of 3, and then ultimately hit finish enrolling, so you don't have to add all of your classes at once super rushed on May 24th at 8 a.m. Once you've proceeded to step 2 of 3, you'll come to this page, and you will click finish enrolling on your valid enrollment date, and then you will want to see a green check mark. If you look for the status underneath, it says a green check mark, and success, this class has been added to your schedule. So you can then go look at your class schedule and see that you've enrolled in that class successfully, and hopefully all of your classes successfully. After you've finished enrolling, which is wonderful, there's a couple next steps that we suggest you take. First is checking your UAutoa email address regularly. That is super important. That's where you get all of your important information, all of the communications from the university. So just ensure that you're always checking that. As well, make sure to see your tuition fees. You can get your statement of account, which is basically the summary of tuition fees that you owe. You'll be able to see that in late July in the same UO Zone page under applications. Instead of searching for enroll, you can find your statement of account. Make sure that if you need to modify anything in your course selection, you do so by September 20th. That is the very last day to do so. However, we suggest enrolling right away on May 24th because classes fill up very quickly. Also participate in summer orientation. And lastly, get in touch with your mentor. The Regional Mentoring Center is our team of 14 mentors that represent all the different regions of Canada. And we're here to support all first-year incoming students with their transition from high school to university. So we are very knowledgeable on many resources on campus, different processes that you need to go to, because we ourselves have also been first-year students, and we know exactly what it's like and how confusing and sometimes hectic it can be. So we're definitely your one-stop. If you don't know who to ask, you don't know where to turn, we are definitely there, and we'll help direct you to whatever services or supports you need, or whatever answers to your questions you're looking for. So to get in touch with us, there's our Regional Mentors Instagram page, our email, as well as we have a TikTok. And through the Regional Mentor Instagram, you can see each of us have our own Instagrams for our own regions, so you can find your mentor within that page. If you're an international student, you also have an international mentor. team, so just be cognizant of all of the supports available to you at the University of Ottawa. Or if you are not, or you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to your mentor. Again, they are there to support you in every aspect of your first year life. So now it's your turn. So first, finding your course sequence, very important since that is your roadmap to all 4 years of university and all of the required courses that you'll need to take. So make sure to Google your program name, course sequence, U Ottawa, and you should be able to find that. Use the Timetable tool to find classes and kind of organize when those classes occur to make sure that they don't conflict with each other. They're not at the same time, because the enrollment portal will not let you enroll in any classes that have conflicting times. In the Enrol application, add your mandatory and makeup courses and optional courses first. So enroll in your electives last. Make sure you add those last. Just because they're not as important as the mandatory or optional or makeup courses that you need for your program, because the electives can literally be anything that interests you. So you can search your electives through the Electives Without Prerequisites page. So if you Google Electives Without Prerequisites U Ottawa, that is a really great tool for first year students if they don't know what electives are available to them, what disciplines interest them. They can search that and be able to find and look through all the different classes that are available and find a couple that interest them to take as their electives. Make sure that there are many schedule possibilities, especially when certain sections are full. So just make sure that you are always writing down what times things are, making sure they don't conflict, as well as maybe possibly reworking your schedule if something does conflict, let's say between 2 mandatory courses. So just keeping that in mind and making sure to keep yourself organized, so it's as little work as possible, and it's a smooth sailing towards enrollment. If you have any other questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. All the contact information for the Regional Mentoring Center is on the Regional Mentoring slide. There's also all the contact information and the phone number for the Enrollment Help Center, as well as any other contact information or links you would need to any of the things that we've referenced in this presentation. But again, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. And if not, thank you very much for attending the presentation. We wish you all the best in your enrollment and hope to see you in September. Bye.